Nigel Torres, Bunny Harry, Clifton Wong, Dax Arokium, his uncle Cedric, Compton Spears, Horace Drakes, and Lancelot Lee. Welcome to In-Depth. This week we'll be examining the Lindo Creek Commission of Inquiry established by President David Granger to investigate the deaths of those 8 miners at the Upper Demerara, Upper Berbice Region 10 mining camp 10 years ago.
The future of Guyana has never looked better. Our nation is on the cusp of a development program like never seen before. While Guyana is now emerging as an energy giant through the discovery of massive reserves of oil and natural gas, it is your government's intention that the huge benefits emerging from this will go where it matters most, to you, the people of this beloved country. There is a surge of confidence in the way Guyana is governed once again, and the level of investor interest is unprecedented. Guyana is poised to become the breadbasket of the region, and the pace at which this nation will grow through prudent fiscal management will be nothing short of impressive. But more than anything else will be the way every Guyanese, regardless of color, class, or creed, becomes a part of this historic period of national transformation, sharing in the wealth and well-being of it all as one Guyana.
June 21, 2008 will forever be etched in the minds of many Guyanese, particularly those who were closely connected to 8 miners, all family men, brutally shot and killed, then burnt at a mining camp at Lindo Creek in the Upper Berbice River. Nigel Torres, Bunny Harry, Clifton Wong, Dax Arokium, his uncle Cedric, Compton Spears, Horace Drakes, and Lancelot Lee. The 8 breadwinners had left their homes and families, mostly from the coastland, not knowing that their venture to the interior location would be their last. The miners' deaths had come at the closing chapter of what was deemed a decade of senseless killings, also known as the Troubles. During that period, Guyana saw its most intense wave of criminal violence since independence. According to official reports, there were 1,431 murders. President David Granger, then opposition leader, felt like many other right-thinking Guyanese that something was amiss and that there was more to the killings than met the eye. He therefore called for a thorough investigation to bring to the fore the intellectual authors of the mass murders.
Determined to unravel who really killed the 8 miners, retired Justice Donald Trotman on January 31 of this year, under the direction of President David Granger, was sworn in before Minister of State Joseph Harmon to head a commission of inquiry into the Lindo Creek massacre.
The head of state said the commission of inquiry would lead to the exposure of the criminal network and the operatives who were responsible for the reign of terror during the deadly decade, while at the same time ensuring that justice is served for the affected families of the miners.
This is really a massacre of the innocents, and we feel that the way the investigation was handled indicated that there was a high level of collusion by the government of the day. So we feel that this will be a pivotal investigation which will unravel the criminal networks that were behind the killings during what is now called the Jaglio era, during the Troubles. And when we see the report of this commission of inquiry, it will lead to other commissions.
Justice Trotman committed to completing the task in a very professional manner.
To find the truth is sometimes very difficult, as both for worship and the Honorable Minister will know in their legal and professional capacities. But knowing the truth in circumstances such as this and in other circumstances is of the greatest importance. The biblical way of addressing it in the words of Jesus Christ, "And ye shall know the truth, and the truth will make you free." And so in a wider sense, we cannot be really free. Both the families and as a people and as a nation as a whole, unless we know the truth. We want to do what is right, and we do it to the best of our ability and according to the morals of our conscience.
The Lindo Creek COI is the first step towards fulfilling the government's promise of discovering the truth behind the killings. The Commission has among its objectives to ascertain, investigate, and make findings of the facts on all matters in relation to the killings of the 8 minors. It will also make recommendations and actions to be taken against all persons and/or organizations that are deemed responsible for the deaths of those persons.
The COI officially began on Thursday, March 1. It is within this room at the Ministry of the Presidency, Department of Public Service at 164 Waterloo Street that the real truth of the miners' demise is expected to be brought to light.
The COI first heard the testimonies from one of the miners' family members, Buddy Harry and retired Detective Sergeant Clensford Burnett. The testimony from Harry's family revealed that they were never officially informed about the deaths of their husband and father. They said the pain remains unbearable, since even today they do not know where the remains are.
We got on the TV and it said that 5 men killed them. So after a year, I said, well, we ain't got nothing to get because 5 men. Like, I just switch off them and say nothing more. This thing going all wrong. Anytime I hear somebody telling me, nobody will come in and ask me, tell me, say, well, so happened, be from so place and we come from. Nobody will tell me, you're from this body, that was all. Until before the last, I think it was. A little bike come, police bike, and tell me that the headman from the Mr. Review does say inspector, but they got bigger name now, you know. Immediately inspector, now they got bigger name. So he comes to ask me, what I'm doing with the bone? I said, what bone? He said, bone and son. I get vexed. But I control myself. I said, but I'll take it and make soup. Because how you would know who bone everybody dead? How you going to know which bone is you? They make a mark. How you going to know who bone?
Retired Detective Sergeant Clensford Burnett took the Commission through the investigative aspect of the incident. He was among the first group of ranks from the Criminal Investigations Department A Division that visited the mining camp.
On checking at the other camp, which was shadeless.
So there was another camp?
Yeah.
Yes.
And I observed it's like a sleeping place or resting place for the miners. And the front half of the camp, which is, I have about 15 feet in length. The first half, I noticed a pile of charred remains. On checking, I found that they were human remains.
What you saw among the pile that caused you to conclude it?
They were skeleton bones, part of skull, limbs.
Proprietor of the Lycan Funeral Home, Dr. Dawn Stewart Lycan, also appeared before the Commission on the first day. She said the remains were at the funeral home for some 4 years, the longest time any corpse has been at the facility in its 95-year history.
Lycan's testimony revealed also that the then crime chief, Silal Prasad, ordered that the remains be buried in one coffin. The funeral home had also advised the police to have the remains buried. However, they were told not to, since the investigation was still ongoing.
Scientifically, we actually bury human remains. Human remains are never allowed to be cremated in the instance that we have ongoing investigations. So therefore, they're buried and then they are removed from the earth or entombed for further analysis and further inspection, DNAs or whatever scientific studies need to be done. So from that point of view, we were asking for the bodies to be buried, and at the time, if needed, we can now take the bodies out of the tombs for further analysis.
The first day turned out to be an emotional one, especially for the many supporters of the Oroquium family. Dax and Cedric Oroquium, nephew and uncle, were among the 8 killed at Lindo Creek. Dax was at the time the mining camp's general manager. Those who were close to the family turned up at the Ministry of the Presidency and were engaged in simple protest action, hoping for justice and answers.
Just get a brace down again when these guys come. You feel nice, you get a nice fun time. It's like when the moments come, like when you know the moment for them for come and things like you're in a morning zone now, you know. And just get flashes about these boys. And the most we can do is just talk about the fun and the nice time we had with these boys. You know, I mean, it's just the point. Nobody don't forget them. Could never forget about them, buddy.
By the second sitting of the Commission on Tuesday, March 6, submissions continued to trickle in to the Commission's Secretariat.
On the second day, the Commission's lawyer Patrice Henry fielded questions from the witnesses, who all revealed that they are still seeking justice for their family members. The Commission heard from the slain Harris Drake's aunt, Natalie MacDonald. She recounted that none of her family members had attended an autopsy or funeral service. However, she recalled that the family was visited by officers of the police station in their community.
One time, 2 CID police come to me from Lenora police station. That's the only, thing that I can recall the police had play a part in. I can't recall nothing more.
2 police from Lenora CID. You could recall what was the conversation about?
They just take down and, find out to know where he was living, what time he left to go in the bush, and so on.
Sister of the late Compton Spears, 80-year-old Carmen Gittins, said she became the guardian of her brothers and sisters when their mother died back in 2001. The last time she saw her younger brother was a month prior to his death, when he informed her that he was traveling into the interior to work. The family had never been visited by any official, government or otherwise since.
Nobody never told us anything. We didn't know nothing.
And you didn't have an opportunity to be at the burial ground when it was buried?
I love funeral. I just go to funeral all over this place. And I am glad to see my brother remains. I think we would have take the remains and put it in a nice coffin and bury it. And we get that opportunity.
There was an eye-raising moment when retired Detective Carl Jacobs testified that he was required to prepare the coroner's report of the death of the 8 miners. However, it was somewhat strange that the documents were not delivered to a pathologist, as is customary in such kinds of deaths. In fact, the document did not record that an autopsy was done. Further, nowhere in the order was it stated that the men were murdered, nor were they burned. What is recorded is that the men died of shotgun injuries.
Now you have on those documents, or in respect of those documents, you indicated that 8 miners were murdered. So you said so. Are they on the documents? Is there any indication of 8 persons miners being murdered, which you said in your examination?
Those were the instructions given to me by Inspector Pitt to prepare the order for these 8 miners that were being murdered in Lindo Creek.
But is the word murdered in any of those documents?
No, sir.
The evidence of that particular witness left some loopholes, but even more eyebrows were raised when columnist Freddie Kissoon took to the stand to give evidence on day 3 of the inquiry.
Kissoon was at the time of the massacre attached to the Kaitron News and wrote several articles on the issue. The newspaper columnist and a social activist told the COI that the police official's statement on the Lindo Creek massacre just did not make sense. He said there were too many incongruous confrontations within the police's explanation of what transpired. He believed, unlike what was being peddled, that it was the joint services and not the Feynman gang that killed the miners.
For 3 hours, he came armed with a series of maps, documents, and a number of photographs. Photographs of burnt bodies, ashes, remnants of burnt food stuff. You see the tin. I can remember seeing milk powder tin. And then he went on to explain why he thought the security forces didn't kill his camp employees and his 2 sons. And he said to me, I remember distinctly saying to me, I have proof that the security forces killed my employees and not the Feynman gang, and I need this to be publicized.
That meeting was held between the columnists and Leonard Arokiam, owner of the mining camp, a few days after the massacre. An emotional Onika Butts also took to the stand that day and recounted the trauma she and her children endured following the death of her reputed husband, Dax Arokiam. Butts recollected seeing Arokiam on June 6, 2008 at her parents' home when she was preparing to travel to Lindo Creek. At that time, she was 4 months pregnant with their son. The couple also had a 3-year-old daughter, Ciara Arokiam.
The family was there. The father was traversing in and out the interior. Like I said, much wasn't said to me because of what was going on. And I took it upon myself 3 months after. And I went and see Clement Rohi, because I wasn't hearing anything. Nobody was saying anything to me.
All right. Where you went to and how you were able to get an audience with the Minister then of Home Affairs, Mr. Rohi?
It was on Breakdown, I think. It was on Breakdown. I can't really remember right now, but I went into him. I spent 30 minutes, right? That man just looked at me like silently, had nothing to say to me. I was asking questions like, I need answers. If it was your child, wouldn't you want answers? And his mouth was sealed, nothing. And I was just forced to leave because I couldn't deal with it. He wasn't saying anything to me, so I just left.
After the birth of her son Dax Arokiam Jr., Butts said the family was counseled. However, she said that the reopening of the case has negatively impacted her son's studies. Then on Tuesday, March 13, it was the turn of retired Commissioner of Police Silal Prasad. The former crime chief fired back in his evidence, refuting claims that ranks of the police force were involved in the massacre. He maintained that the police were not at Lindo Creek, but at Christmas Falls.
After you would have at least crossed the river, I'm sure you were briefed by the men on the ground.
Yes, Assistant Commissioner Hicken briefed me on what transpired. He did told me that they observed the camp, and as they were moving up the camp, they came under heavy gunfire. As a result, they returned fire. One individual was shot.
Can you say to this commission whether there was any sighting of Rondell Rollins called Feynman at that location at the time of the exchange of gunfire?
Assistant Commissioner Hicken reported that to me.
Did he indicate to you what direction that they would have left the persons who would have survived that shootout?
Yes, there was a creek just south of the camp. There's a bridge across that creek, and he indicated to me that they crossed the bridge, north of the camp. So they crossed that bridge going north.
Wayne Lee, younger brother of slain Lancelot Lee, also gave an account of his recollections following the discovery of the murders.
Approximately 3 days after it hit the news, we were visited by 2 CID detectives from Ivlery at our home, and they took a statement from my mom.
And what is the name of your mother?
Olinda Teresa Debidin.
And you were present when that statement was taken?
No, I was.
You were not present. After that statement was taken, can you recall whether any memorial service or anything was held or conducted based on the information that was conveyed to the family?
Yes, a memorial service was held on the 3rd of July at the Cathedral of Immaculate Conception in Bridam.
On Thursday, March 15, Courtney Wong, older brother of murdered minor Clifton Wong, surprised the commission with the revelation that it was he who should have been at Lindo Creek on June 21, instead of his brother. Wong said he previously traveled to the interior mine to conduct mechanic work, but at that time, he was burdened with a heavy workload. His brother went instead.
The older sibling told the commission that he last saw his brother 2 days prior to him leaving for Lindo Creek.
I could only recall when I met him when he was going to Lindo Creek in a space for me, because I had a lot of work on my hands and I could not have make it. So he fit in for that.
So both yourself and brother were mechanics?
Yes, sir.
And you, at the time, was working also for the Arokiam family?
Yes, sir. I am the designated mechanic throughout this operation, sir.
So you were the person scheduled to be in Lindo Creek, but you said because of the nature of maybe your workload, your brother basically went in for you.
Yes, sir.
Because he knew the terrain very well, Courtney Wong was asked to act as a guide for the police into the mining camp. He explained how upon arrival the team combed the area for spent shells but found none. So it was surprising that sometime after, a particular police officer had on 3 occasions announced that he had found spent shells.
Why is that process was going on? Our police said, look, I find a spent shell. You know, we went, draw the tents room, we went across, pick up a spent shell, we put it in the bag and place something. Everybody gone back to the normal thing. 2 minutes after, look, I find another one. One person finding another one is found.
This is the same police.
Right? But still, you know, nobody, you know. But probably they were placed with that, so that was good. So anyhow, we find it's 3 spent shells we found. He said it found.
The same police found?
The same
3.
police, no other police in front of him.
And this is the same area that was already combed earlier.
Already combed.
Courtney said he learned of the deaths when mine owner Leonard Arokiam called him frantically with the news. Courtney said the news was later confirmed when he visited another of Arokiam's sons that same day. According to Courtney, during a later telephone conversation with Arokiam, he was told that the then Prime Minister Samuel Hines, Minister of Home Affairs Clement Rohi, and Commissioner of Police the late Henry Green tried to convince Arokiam that it was the Feynman gang that carried out the killing. The trio had visited Arokiam's Mittenmeersburg home a few days after the murder. In the early morning hours of June 21, 2008, the burnt bodies of 8 miners were discovered by Lennox Arokiam in the Lindo Creek Berbice River area at a diamond mining camp. The remains were found piled upon each other, an unforgettable sight for those who discovered the bodies. 2 of the victims were related to Arokiam, his son Dax Arokiam, 29, and brother Cedric Arokiam, called Brother, 51. Other victims were Clifton Wong, known as Berry, 46, Lancelot Lee, nicknamed Piggy, 42, Compton Spears, called Tona, 58, Horace Drake, Sir Pona, 40, Bunny Harry, 48, and Nigel Torres, 17. According to reports, shortly after the gruesome discovery, Arokiam stated he believed his crew was slain between Friday, June 13, and Monday, June 16, in what he concluded was a case of robbery and murder. That conclusion was based on his knowledge of the last time he made contact with his men and information from an individual who usually traversed the area and who informed him that he spoke with the miners no earlier than Thursday, June 12. According to the police, the Lindo Creek murders took place sometime after June 6, 2008 and were carried out by members of the Feynman Rondell Rawlings gang. The police's timeline indicates that on June 6, they encountered Rondon Rawlings and his gang during a confrontation at Christmas Falls, during which one gang member was killed and 6 others escaped.
The future of Guyana has never looked better. Our nation is on the cusp of a development program like never seen before. While Guyana is now emerging as an energy giant through the discovery of massive reserves of oil and natural gas, it is your government's intention that the huge benefits emerging from this will go where it matters most, to you, the people of this beloved country. There is a surge of confidence in the way Guyana is governed once again, and the level of investor interest is unprecedented. Guyana is poised to become the breadbasket of the region, and the pace at which this nation will grow through prudent fiscal management will be nothing short of impressive. But more than anything else will be the way every Guyanese, regardless of color, class, or creed, becomes a part of this historic period of national transformation, sharing in the wealth and well-being of it all as one Guyana.
The Lindo Creek murders were part of a brutal crime wave that engulfed Guyana, resulting in the deaths of hundreds and few individuals facing the justice system. As to who committed this truly heinous crime, we will learn as the testimonies in the Lindo Creek massacre continue. This brings us to the end of this week's InfoHub In-Depth, which examined the Lindo Creek COI. Thanks for watching and join us again next week.